This coin almost ended up being spent on a pack of gum, but instead, it shocked the coin world and sold for nearly $1 million. The year was 1972. Most Americans never thought twice about the quarter in their pocket. Gasoline was only 55 cents a gallon. A movie ticket cost just over $1. And millions of quarters passed through people's hands without a single glance. But hidden among those ordinary coins was a rare mistake, one so small, most people missed it entirely. Yet that tiny detail turned an everyday 25-cent piece into a collector's dream, worth life-changing money. But here's the twist. This wasn't a coin with flashy gold or a misprint so obvious you could see it across the room. No. The 1972 no-mint Mark Washington quarter hides its secret in plain sight. And unless you know exactly what to look for, you could spend it without realizing you just let $1 million slip through your fingers. Collectors today call it one of the most electrifying discoveries in modern coinage. Auction houses whisper about the sales in hushed tones. Some dealers claim they've seen only a handful in their entire careers. And one lucky collector, who nearly tossed his 1972 quarter into a vending machine, ended up walking away with a fortune. The answer lies deep inside the U.S. Mint's own process. In 1972, quarters were being struck at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Normally, quarters from Denver carry the small d mint mark. Those from San Francisco often show an S. And yet, something went wrong. A small number of quarters slipped into circulation with no mint mark at all. They looked completely ordinary. Washington's face was there. The eagle was perched on the reverse. The rim was sharp. The details were crisp. But where the tiny mint mark should have been, there was nothing. Lots of coins come without a mint mark. But here's the shocking truth. On the 1972 quarter, the absence of that mint mark isn't normal. It isn't intentional. It's an accident, a mistake that should never have left the mint. And that mistake is what drives collectors wild. Some of these no-mint mark quarters also display what's known as a double die obverse, a striking error where the lettering on the front appears doubled, almost ghost-like. The word liberty seems to echo. The date 1972 can look slightly blurred, as if struck twice. And when you combine the missing mint mark with that doubling, you have one of the rarest, most valuable Washington quarters in history. Dealers were stunned when the first verified examples crossed the auction block. The bidding began modestly, but it didn't take long before the numbers skyrocketed. $5,000, $50,000, hundreds of thousands. Until finally, one extraordinary piece, in immaculate condition, stunned the entire coin world by soaring toward the $1 million mark. Collectors couldn't believe it. How could such a common coin, struck in the millions, suddenly become the centerpiece of a fortune? But then again, that's the magic of numismatics. That's why every coin in your pocket deserves a second look. Because history has shown us, time and time again, that treasure hides in the most ordinary places, and here's where the story gets even wilder. One man in Ohio claimed he found his 1972 no-mint mark quarter mixed in with loose change from a grocery store. Another collector in California said his came from a parking meter refund. Everyday moments. Everyday coins. Until one tiny missing mint mark turned their lives upside down. But what happened next stunned everyone. Because word began to spread. Coin roll hunters, dealers, and ordinary Americans started combing through change like never before. Banks were flooded with requests for quarter rolls. Entire families sat around kitchen tables late into the night, searching, hoping, praying to find the one coin that could change everything. The frenzy even sparked rumors, whispers of entire bags of 1972 no-mint mark quarters hidden away in vaults, waiting to be discovered. Some believe more of these $1 million coins are still out there. Others insist the handful known today may be all that exists. The mystery only adds to the excitement and the value, but here's the part you need to hear. Identifying this coin is not as simple as just spotting a missing mint mark. Remember, most Philadelphia coins of earlier years naturally came without mint marks. What makes the 1972 special is that very few were struck without one. That means authenticity matters. Condition matters. And the doubling matters. So if you think you found one, here's what to look for. First, check the area just above the date on the front. That's where the mint mark should be. If it's completely blank, with no trace of a D or an S, your heart should already start racing. Next, examine the lettering of Liberty and In God We Trust under magnification. If the letters look doubled or ghosted, you may be staring at the doubled die error, the jackpot combination. Finally, examine the condition. Coins in pristine, uncirculated states command the highest prices. A heavily worn quarter may still be valuable, but the million-dollar miracles are usually those that look like they were just struck yesterday. Sharp rims, no scratches, deep luster, these details separate a good find from a life-changing one. And here's a warning most collectors overlook: counterfeiters know how much this coin is worth. Which means fake 1972 no mint mark quarters are out there. If you think you've found one, never rush to sell it. Always get it authenticated by a trusted grading service. Because if you have the real thing, you're holding lightning in your hands. The story of the 1972 no mint mark Washington quarter isn't just about money. It's about hope. It's about the dream that ordinary people like you, can still find treasures hidden in plain sight. It's about the thrill of possibility every time you open your wallet, every time you empty your change jar, every time you hear the jingle of coins in your pocket. Collectors were shocked when the first $1 million sale was recorded. Dealers are still chasing after this ghost coin, desperate to own just one. And ordinary people are learning that what looks like a simple piece of pocket change can, in fact, be the key to a fortune. So the next time you hold a quarter in your hand, look closely. Study the date. Check for that tiny missing mark. Search for the doubling that most people miss. Because hidden in your change could be the very coin that turns your life upside down. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it sold for nearly $1 million. It's a Washington quarter, from 1965. No mint mark. A coin you've probably seen thousands of times in your life. A coin so ordinary, so plain, so common, that most people wouldn't give it a second glance. And yet, in the hands of the right collector, this little silver-looking disc turned into a fortune. But here's the shocking part. It wasn't supposed to exist. The year was 1965. America was in the middle of a coin crisis. Silver prices were climbing, people were hoarding coins, and the U.S. Mint was scrambling to keep enough quarters in circulation. That year, something historic happened. The Mint removed silver from quarters entirely, switching them to a copper-nickel clad composition. For collectors, this was the end of an era. For everyday Americans, it was just change in their pockets, but hidden in that transition, mistakes were made. Some 1965 quarters were accidentally struck on the older silver planchets, the 90% silver discs that had been used the year before, in 1964. These wrong planchet errors should never have happened. They should have been caught and destroyed. But a handful slipped through, and today, they're worth up to $1.10 million. Think about that. A single quarter worth 25 cents, becoming a life-changing discovery. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One collector, years later, unknowingly had one of these quarters in a small change jar. He thought it was ordinary. He almost spent it at a gas station. Something stopped him, a slight difference in the coin's weight, the way it felt, the way it rang when dropped on a table. He took it to a dealer, who instantly froze. The dealer weighed the coin, tested the edge, and realized it was struck on silver, not clad. That quarter would go on to sell for hundreds of thousands, nearly $1 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to re-examine their own 1965 quarters. The story spread like wildfire through coin shows and auctions. Some 1965 quarters were $1 million miracles, but here's the secret most people miss: these coins look almost identical to the ordinary ones. Same date. Same design. No mint mark. Nothing obvious at first glance. The only difference is the metal, and that tiny detail is why it's worth millions. Imagine holding one in your hand right now. Would you know what to look for? Would you recognize history, or would you let $1 million slip right through your fingers? But it gets even more mysterious. In the mid-1960s, the U.S. Mint deliberately removed mint marks from coins, in an attempt to stop collectors from hoarding them during the coin shortage. That's why your 1965 quarter has no D or S. But here's the irony: by doing this, the Mint accidentally created an even bigger frenzy. Without mint marks, all coins looked the same, making the rare silver strikes blend in perfectly with the common clad. One man's pocket change became indistinguishable from another's unless you knew the secret. Dealers whispered about these quarters like ghost stories. They'd show up unexpectedly at estate sales, in old cigar boxes, in coffee cans tucked away for decades. The owners often had no idea what they were holding. Some of them sold their coins for face value. Others tossed them aside. And yet, the lucky few who recognized the difference walked away with fortunes. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. For every authentic silver planchet 1965 quarter that's been discovered, there are hundreds of counterfeits. Skilled forgers shave down 1964 quarters, restamp them, and pass them off as 1965 errors. Dealers warn collectors, if you think you found one, get it authenticated immediately. Because in the world of million-dollar coins, fakes are everywhere. Still, the real ones are out there. Waiting. Hidden in old rolls of quarters, in forgotten dresser drawers, even in dusty bank bags that haven't been touched in half a century. But what makes this coin so unbelievable is not just its rarity, it's the symbolism. A 25-cent piece, the most common coin in America, transforming into a million-dollar treasure. It's the dream of every collector that something ordinary might actually be extraordinary. That hidden value might be sitting right under your nose, and here's the part that gives collectors chills. Experts believe only a handful of these silver 1965 quarters exist. Some say 10. Others say fewer. Which means if you're holding one, you're holding one of the rarest modern errors in US coinage. That alone is enough to set the coin world buzzing. The answer is simple, but most people never check first. Weigh your coin. A regular clad 1965 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. A silver planchet quarter weighs around 6.25 grams. That tiny difference is the key. Second, look at the coin's edge. A clad quarter shows a copper line, the sandwich of metal inside. A silver quarter has a pure, solid edge. And finally, listen. Drop it lightly on a hard surface. A clad quarter gives a dull clink. Silver rings with a high, sweet tone. Collectors who know these secrets are hunting right now, hoping to find the million-dollar 1965 no-mint mark quarter. And here's the last piece of the puzzle: that if you think you found one, don't spend it. Don't clean it. Don't toss it in a jar. Protect it. Get it certified by a grading service like PCGS or NGC. Because one wrong move could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. One coin. One mistake at the mint. One ordinary quarter that became a once-in-a-lifetime miracle. This is why collectors never stop searching. Because the next million-dollar discovery could be hiding in your very own change. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, look closely at that 1965 quarter. Check the weight. Study the edge. Listen to its sound. Because this exact coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, yet today, it's worth over $1 million. A 1995 Washington quarter, with a tiny D mint mark, a coin so common most people toss it into vending machines without a second thought. But buried among the billions of ordinary quarters lies a secret. A flaw. A mystery. A 1 in a billion mistake that has turned ordinary change into $1 million miracle. It all began in 1995, at the Denver Mint. Millions of Washington quarters poured out of the presses that year, just like every other year. Workers believed these coins were just routine, destined for grocery stores, gas stations, and pocket change across America. But hidden in that massive sea of coins, something strange happened. A handful of quarters left the mint with a defect so tiny, so rare, that even trained eyes nearly missed it. Collectors would later whisper about it. Dealers would argue over it. And when one finally surfaced at auction, the coin world was stunned. What looked like just another quarter, a coin worth 25 cents, sold for nearly $1.2 million. The answer lies in the minting process itself. Quarters are struck at incredible speed, using powerful dies to press Washington's portrait and the iconic eagle into metal. But in rare cases, those dies misalign. They clash. They double strike. And sometimes, an engraving error slips through. That's exactly what happened with this coin. One collector discovered it not in a bankroll, not in a coin shop, but in loose change. Imagine buying a cup of coffee, getting change back, and realizing one of your coins doesn't look quite right. The date is doubled. The mint mark is off-center. Washington's profile looks strange, almost ghost-like, with overlapping details. At first, he thought it was nothing. But then he compared it to a normal 1995 D quarter, and his heart nearly stopped. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread fast. Dealers were desperate to see this mysterious quarter. Some doubted its authenticity. Others claimed it was just damage from circulation. But when experts finally authenticated it, the truth shook collectors to their core. This wasn't damage. This was a genuine minting mistake, one so rare that no one had ever seen it before. The bidding war that followed was unlike anything the numismatic world had ever witnessed. Wealthy collectors flew across the country just to see the coin with their own eyes. Auction houses prepared special vaults for its protection. And when the hammer finally fell, this ordinary quarter was no longer worth 25 cents. It was worth over $1 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were speechless. And everyday people just like you, began checking their pocket change, hoping to stumble upon their own miracle coin. Because if one 1995 D Washington quarter could sell for $1.2 million, who's to say another isn't still out there, hiding in a jar, a drawer, or a forgotten piggy bank? It isn't just about the date and the mint mark. The true value lies in the error. Some of these 1995 D quarters show doubling on the word liberty. Others have an unusually bold or misplaced mint mark. And a few show what experts call a double die obverse, where Washington's face looks almost like two overlapping profiles. It's eerie. It's haunting. And it's worth a fortune, but here's the twist. Most people pass these coins off as damage. They spend them. They toss them aside. They never realize they just let $1 million slip through their fingers. That's why dealers say the biggest coin discoveries aren't in museums or auctions, they're still sitting in change jars all across America. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Another collector found his coin in a parking meter. Someone else spotted theirs in a casino slot machine. Each story adds fuel to the fire, making coin collectors everywhere wonder, but what makes the 1995 D mint mark quarter so dangerous to overlook is its deceptive normality. To the untrained eye, it looks just like any other quarter. Same size. Same weight. Same shine. Only when you look closer do the secrets reveal themselves. The doubling. The shifted details. The hidden flaws that transform a coin from 25 cents into a fortune. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Collectors are hunting it down with magnifying glasses and microscopes. And yet, only a handful are known to exist. That means the odds are almost impossible. But not zero. And for someone, somewhere, that chance could mean the difference between pocket change and a life-changing discovery. Look for the 1995 date, and make sure the mint mark is a D standing for the Denver Mint. Then, look closer. Inspect Washington's face. Does the profile look doubled? Does Liberty or In God We Trust show faint overlapping letters? Does the mint mark itself look misaligned? These tiny details are the key. They're the difference between 25 cents and $1.2 million, and don't be fooled by worn-out quarters or damage from circulation. Scratches and dents aren't worth a dime. But a genuine minting error, confirmed by experts, can change your life overnight. Imagine the feeling. You open a drawer, spot an old 1995 quarter, and out of habit, you almost toss it aside. But then you look closer. You see the doubling. Your heart races. You rush to check again. And in that moment, you realize you're holding not just a coin, but a piece of history, a coin worth more than a house, more than a lifetime of savings, a coin worth over $1 million. Yes, a simple 1997 D Washington quarter, the kind of coin most people spend without a second thought, turned into a life-changing discovery. And tonight, I'm going to tell you why this ordinary-looking piece of pocket change is shaking the coin world and how you could still find one hiding in your own home. It all began in Denver, 1997. Billions of quarters rolled off the minting presses, stamped with George Washington's timeless profile on the front, and the American eagle proudly spread across the reverse. To most people, these coins were nothing special, just 25 cents to drop in a vending machine. But buried among those billions was a mistake. A microscopic detail. A flaw so rare, so shocking, that it transformed a handful of these coins into treasures worth over $1.3 million. Collectors call it one of the most dramatic error coins of the late 20th century. And yet, most people who held one never noticed. They spent it. They tossed it. Some even lost it forever. But for the few lucky enough to recognize what they had, it was like winning the lottery in disguise. The answer lies deep inside the minting process. In the 1990s, the Denver Mint was producing coins at staggering speed. Millions every single day. Under this kind of pressure, mistakes were inevitable. A misaligned die. A double strike. A wrong planchet slipping into the press. One tiny moment of imperfection, and suddenly, a standard 25-cent coin became a rarity unlike anything else. And this is where the story gets even more unbelievable. Imagine a collector walking into a small-town coin shop with a handful of quarters. Among them, a 1997 D. The dealer flips it over, about to dismiss it as ordinary until his eyes lock onto something strange. The lettering looks doubled. The eagle's feathers don't line up. And the surface, it carries the shimmer of a wrong metal planchet. His hands begin to shake. Could it really be that very quarter, once worth only 25 cents, went to auction? And in front of a room packed with eager bidders, the numbers climbed higher and higher until the hammer fell. The final price? Over $1 million. A 1997 D quarter, saved from obscurity, had just changed its owner's life forever, and yet, that wasn't the end. Word spread fast. Dealers rushed to dig through their stashes. Collectors scrambled to check their jars of quarters. Suddenly, 1997 D Washington quarters, coins that had once been ignored, were at the center of a frenzy. People were lining up, desperate to see if lightning could strike twice, but here's the catch: most 1997 D quarters look completely normal. Millions are worth face value only. And this is where most people make the mistake. They glance too quickly, they assume too much. But the real treasures, the ones worth up to $1.3 million, hide in plain sight, waiting for the careful eye, and the difference comes down to tiny details. Some of the rarest 1997 D quarters show dramatic doubling on the obverse, Washington's profile outlined in a faint shadow, like a ghost image stamped beside the real one. Others were struck on the wrong metal, creating a coin that looks lighter, feels different, and rings with an odd tone when tapped. A few even slipped through the presses, missing critical details, the D Mint mark itself faint, misplaced, or entirely missing. They combine multiple errors at once. A double die, a wrong planchet, a mint mark anomaly stacked into one breathtaking coin. And when one of those rare survivors surfaces, collectors go wild. Because they know the truth, these aren't just quarters, they are miracles of chance. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Another collector discovered his 1997 D quarter in a box of coins inherited from his grandfather, a box he almost sold for scrap metal. Can you imagine the shock, the disbelief, when he learned what it was worth? Dealers were stunned. The auction house erupted with gasps. That coin, like its mysterious twin before it, climbed into the stratosphere. Over $1 million, for a quarter most people would have spent on gumballs. First, flip your 1997 D quarter under bright light. Examine Washington's face and the lettering. Do you see any doubling, a faint shadow image, especially around the motto, "In God We Trust," or the word liberty? That's your first clue. Next, check the edge of the coin. A normal quarter has a distinct copper sandwich stripe. But if yours looks silvery all the way through, you may be holding a wrong planchet error. And that alone could make it worth thousands. And now, find the mint mark. That tiny D on the front, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. Is it clear? Is it sharp? Or does it look strange, off-center, doubled, or even missing entirely? That little detail could be the difference between face value and a fortune. Finally, pay attention to weight. A standard quarter weighs 5.67 grams. If yours weighs significantly more, or less, you might have one struck on the wrong blank. And that's where the big money lies. Collectors were shocked when the first of these coins broke the $1 million mark. But here's the truth, not all of them have been found. Every day, ordinary people spend quarters without realizing what they're holding. Every day, another rare coin slips through fingers unnoticed. And maybe, just maybe, the next discovery is waiting for you. So check your change. Search your drawers. Don't dismiss that 1997 D-quarter as just another coin. Because history has already proven it, one of them sold for over $1 million. And yours could be next. A simple Georgia State quarter, dated 1999, with a small D mint mark, struck at the Denver Mint, a coin millions of people once carried without a second thought. But one of these coins, hiding in plain sight, has sold for more than $1 million. Think about that for a moment. A quarter worth just 25 cents. The kind of coin that might roll under your car seat, or sit forgotten in a coffee can. Yet, in one extraordinary case, this very coin shocked collectors and auction houses alike, reaching a value that soared to $1.4 million. It begins with the story of the Georgia State quarter itself. In 1999, the U.S. Mint launched the legendary State Quarters program, a bold new initiative that would eventually feature designs for all 50 states. Millions of people collected them, young and old alike, carefully filling blue folders or jars with the coins that represented their country. The Georgia quarter, released that year, carried the peach at its center, the proud symbol of the state. Around it, the words wisdom, justice, moderation. And at the bottom, the year 1788, the year Georgia became a state. For most people, it was simply another design in a long series, but hidden among those millions, a tiny handful contained a mistake. A minting error so rare, so bizarre, that only the most observant eyes could see it. And that mistake is what turned a 25-cent coin into a fortune. Collectors were stunned. Some whispered that the error was intentional, a slip allowed to escape the mint. Others said it was pure chance, a fleeting misalignment in the machinery that struck the coin. But whatever the truth, those few Georgia quarters became the holy grail of modern coin collecting. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One unsuspecting man, going through his pocket change, noticed something strange. The peach on his 1999 D Georgia quarter didn't look quite right. The design seemed slightly off, the details blurred, as if the coin had been struck twice. He thought little of it at first, maybe it was just worn from use. But something inside told him to keep it safe. Months later, curiosity drove him to show the coin to a local dealer. The dealer's jaw dropped. He had never seen such a clean example of the rare Georgia error quarter. Soon, word spread like wildfire through the numismatic community, and when the coin went to auction, it didn't just sell. It shattered expectations. Bidding climbed higher and higher, past 10,000, past 50,000, and then into the hundreds of thousands. The final hammer price, over $1 million. A 25-cent piece, now one of the most valuable quarters in history. But here's the chilling part: most people who see this coin don't even recognize what makes it special. They spend it, toss it aside, or leave it sitting in a jar. Dealers say that thousands of these flawed coins may still be out there, waiting to be discovered, and this is where it gets even more fascinating. The Georgia quarter isn't the only state coin to have rare errors, but its story has become legendary because of how spectacularly it exploded in value. Collectors are now on high alert, scouring every 1999 D Georgia quarter that passes through their hands. Look closely at the peach, the lettering, and the rim. Some rare Georgia quarters show doubling, a phenomenon where the image appears stamped twice. Others show die breaks, leaving small cracks or extra metal that change the design. And in the rarest of cases, a dramatic minting mistake created a quarter that looks unlike anything the mint intended. It's these oddities that transform an ordinary piece of change into a historic treasure, and what's more chilling is how easily these coins can hide. Think about how often you've held quarters. How many times you've dropped one in a parking lot, handed one over at a gas station, or left them sitting in an old drawer. Somewhere in that endless shuffle, one of these $1 million coins could have passed right through your hands. Another collector, years later, uncovered a similar coin in an inherited jar of quarters. He thought nothing of it, just old state coins that had no real value. But when a coin appraiser took a closer look, he realized what he was holding: another Georgia quarter with the same shocking error. That coin too went on to fetch an eye-watering price at auction. The coin world was shaken. Twice, lightning had struck. Twice, ordinary people discovered life-changing fortunes hiding in something most of us take for granted, and yet, experts believe the best discoveries are still out there. Can you picture holding a small silver-colored coin in your palm, knowing it could bring in $1 million or more? For collectors, that is the ultimate dream, and the Georgia quarter represents the possibility that such a dream can come true. If you're searching for one of these coins, You need to know exactly what to look for first. Check for the mint mark. The coin must be dated 1999, with a D under the word "In God We Trust." That D means it was struck in Denver, where the most valuable errors occurred. Next, inspect the peach and the state outline. If you see doubling, where the image looks like it has a shadow or a second impression, you may be holding something extraordinary. Third, look for die cracks, extra metal lines that sometimes run across the coin's surface, or unusual textures near the rim. These tiny flaws can make the difference between a common quarter and a life-changing treasure. And finally, condition matters. The cleaner, sharper, and less worn the coin, the higher its potential value. Many of these quarters are still out there, waiting in old rolls, forgotten jars, or even in circulation. This coin almost ended up in a coin jar, forgotten, ignored, dismissed as just another quarter, but one collector's sharp eye turned pocket change into a fortune, because this ordinary-looking 2000 South Carolina quarter, struck at the Denver Mint, has sold for as much as $1.5 million. The answer hides in its story, a story of mistakes, mysteries, and miracles of timing, and once you hear it, you'll never look at your change the same way again. When the U.S. Mint launched the State Quarters program in 1999, excitement spread across the nation. Collectors rushed to banks, kids begged their parents to check pocket change, and even seasoned dealers admitted this program has breathed new life into coin collecting. The second year of the program, 2000, brought the South Carolina quarter, featuring a proud outline of the state, the palmetto tree, and a Carolina wren. Tens of millions were minted, and yet, hidden among them, was something no one expected. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Collectors sorted through their rolls, saving pristine coins, tucking away mint sets. Did you hear about the South Carolina quarter with the doubled design? Someone in Denver found a coin with the reverse shifted out of place. Whispers of rare errors swept through coin shows and collector forums, but the real shock would come later. One day, a man in Colorado walked into a coin shop holding what he thought was just a shiny quarter. The dealer took one glance, then leaned in, speechless. The coin had a misaligned die strike, leaving the palmetto tree distorted, a mistake so dramatic it should never have left the mint. The dealer knew instantly. This was no ordinary state quarter, and when it hit auction, the bidding war was nothing short of explosive. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Instead of selling for a few $100s, or even a few thousand, the South Carolina quarter climbed past $100,000, then $500,000, until the hammer finally fell. A price realized, nearly $1.5 million. Collectors gasped. Dealers shook their heads, and one man's pocket change had just become a life-changing miracle. Because in the world of coin collecting, rarity is everything, and error coins, genuine mistakes that slip past the mint's strict inspections, are the rarest of all. The Denver Mint, known for high-volume production, sometimes allowed coins with dramatic double strikes, misalignments, and even wrong planchet errors to escape. And when those errors land on a state quarter, one of the most widely collected series in American history, demand explodes. But here's the detail most people miss: the valuable 2000 South Carolina quarters aren't just any quarters, they have very specific flaws. Some show doubling in the word Carolina. Others reveal cracks running across the palmetto tree, quarters struck on the wrong planchet, meaning a coin intended for another denomination slipped into the presses. Imagine holding a quarter-sized coin struck on a nickel planchet, weighing less, sounding different, looking slightly off. That kind of mistake sends collectors into a frenzy. Dealers were shocked to see even average condition error examples sell for tens of thousands. And pristine, mint-state rarities with dramatic flaws, they were pushing toward that $1 million milestone, and in some cases, shattering it. It means that somewhere, hidden in coffee cans, tucked in drawers, or rattling in a glove compartment, there could be a South Carolina quarter that isn't ordinary at all, and the only thing standing between you and $1 million discovery is whether you recognize it. Now here's where things get truly suspenseful, because many people have already spent these coins without realizing what they held. Stories circulate of gas stations, vending machines, and grocery store cashiers unknowingly handing over treasures. One collector said, "I can't stop thinking about the thousands of error coins that must have slipped by, coins that are still out there, waiting." Think about that. Every time change clinks into your hand, you could be holding history, or a fortune. But here's the part that stunned me the most: the U.S. Mint never officially acknowledged just how many error South Carolina quarters exist. Some experts believe fewer than a dozen survive, others think there may be a hidden hoard yet to surface, and that mystery keeps collectors searching, year after year. Look closely. First, check the mint mark, it must be the D, for Denver. Next, study the design, and most important, weigh the coin. Not if it feels lighter or heavier than a normal quarter, you may be holding a wrong planchet strike, and that's where the $1 million treasures hide. Not every scratch, dent, or flaw makes a coin valuable. Most damage comes from circulation, not the mint. True mint errors have sharp, unmistakable signs, patterns no accident outside the mint could create. Collectors train their eyes to spot these, because the difference between a damaged quarter and $1 million error is everything. So tonight, when you empty your pocket change, pause, look at those South Carolina quarters. Turn them over in the light, because history has already shown that an ordinary 25 cents can become the miracle that changes a life forever.